As preparations for the 2019 general elections gain momentum, efforts at sensitizing stakeholders on the need to sustain the integrity of the general elections in Nigeria and restore voter confidence in the integrity of the process has been on. How successful have these electoral integrity campaigns been? And who should these campaigns be targeted at? We will be taking a look at issues surrounding electoral integrity very shortly on Nigeria Today. I am DENIS ADEGUNLOYE. Welcome. Right, with me in the studio to discuss sustaining electoral integrity is Chris Agiri, Director General, the Flag Foundation of Nigeria. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Nigerians. Compliments of the Christmas in advance.
All right, and also joining us is Bako Nansig. He is a public affairs analyst and a businessman. Thank you for joining us on Nigeria Today.
Thank you, sir, and good evening, Nigerians.
All right, let me come to you first, Mr. Bako. Obviously, we're in the electoral season. Things are hotting up day by day, and of course many issues are being thrown up in the public discourse. Let's start with this issue of electoral integrity. What exactly is your take on this matter?
Well, I don't want to be too technical, so I would put it this way. Simply put, for me, electoral integrity is about the sanctity of the ballot. In other words, when citizens go to the polls to elect their leaders, that they know that their votes will and must count, and ultimately that we will get the kind of leaders we have actually truly and sincerely voted for. For me, this is really at the heart of electoral integrity. But of course, for those who are more sophisticated in thinking, it would include, for instance, the various processes, because of course elections are very technical businesses. They are very logistically cumbersome and all of those things, processes of law and all of those, fairness and all of those things. Yeah. They are all part of the processes of electoral integrity. But the nail, the tip of the nail for me is when the voter goes to the booth and casts his vote. He knows and has the belief and the assurance that this vote will count in choosing the leader I want for my country.
All right. Let me take your take on it, Mr. Chris. Electoral integrity, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, well, in furtherance to what he said, the totality of the electoral integrity borders on good governance, the ability of those that society entrusted, their destiny, that trust to do things, their decisions, their actions, their policies in such a way that it will be more beneficial to the citizens, it will add to the value of their life, it will make life more interesting, more meaningful. It will create the enablers that's required for the citizens, mostly the youth, to realize their God-given potentials. And electoral integrity is an universal thing. It's not necessarily localized. Yeah. It's an universal thing all over the world. The electoral process, every other thing in the society, is dependent on credible, free, fair election, where you contest the election. It's either you win or you lose. If you lose, you'll be honorable and sportsmanly in accepting defeat. If you win, you'll be magnanimous in terms of an all-inclusive arrangement to move the society forward. Whichever way you look at it, it's all about man. In this regard, it's all about we Nigerians. It's all about humanity. It's all about the citizens of Nigeria, their welfare, the security, the ability to contribute to human development, to realize their dreams, to live their lives, to the maximum, and contribute to human development and civilization. And United Nations, I mean, it stems to some extent the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Human and People's Rights, 1948. I think Article 21(3) talks about integrity of the electoral process. It's about justice. If I contest an election, in all honesty, and lose, I should be humble, responsible, and patriotic enough to accept defeat. And I'm expected, I ought to lend my support, contribute to the success of whoever that wins, to ensure that he runs out his tenure. Most, one special thing about this system is that, at least in our own system, every 4 years, whoever that calls the shots, now there were those that were calling the shots 4 years ago, 3 years ago, they're no longer there. 2019 election, only God knows who is going to win. So changing the narrative, I am appealing to the Nigerian political elite, the government, the stakeholders, friends of Nigeria. Like, we had a national conference on the electoral integrity, sustaining, that was the thing, sustaining the integrity of the electoral process. From what we had, what we experienced in 2015, going further. Under those circumstances, should we, as a people, as Nigerians, as compatriots, go below what we had in 2015? Yes.
Yeah, well,
irrespective of the challenges.
Yeah.
I know.
All right, back Chris brought up quite an crucial issue with regards to what happened 4 years ago, being gracious in defeat and magnanimous in victory. We saw two classic examples of that 4 years ago. This is surely something that needs to be built on going forward into the next couple of months.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so truly 2015 was a watershed for the electoral history of Nigeria. Another watershed, perhaps you would argue, though aborted in our history, would be probably June 12, 1993. So yes, we have this latest euphoria of having delivered a successful electoral outcome in 2015.
Yeah.
For those who are interested more in the detail, the fact of the matter is that 2015, though it delivered an outcome that was very impressive to Nigerians and to the international community. Chris mentioned the international community just now. Yeah. It's important that our electoral processes increasingly get better. So yes, I do agree as a Nigerian, as someone who is interested in the political success of Nigeria, that we do need in 2019 an electoral outcome that consolidates at the very minimum on the gains of 2015. How to do that, of course, is a matter of detail, and the people at the driving seat, for instance, INEC as a key driver in this process. Also the political class, like Chris mentioned, must recognize that it must never be about just winning the election. That's right. It has to be that we are focused on the progress of the land itself.
That's right.
Therefore, we must consolidate in 2019 on the gains of 2015. I'd agree with that completely.
All right, you mentioned INEC. What would be the role of INEC and the various political parties in ensuring, ingraining electoral integrity into the, ongoing democratic journey of the country and of course the electoral process?
Right. So one of in the development literature, often we talk about the fact that for backward countries, most of the time it is the absence of institutions.
Yeah.
So you find out that institutions are weak and individual politicians are strong. And it has been said in the literature that, countries which are developing like ours must build more institutions. So the folks at INEC must recognize that INEC is an institution created by law and the constitution of the land, and so they must work assiduously from the smallest person there to the topmost guys to ensure that the institutional muscle of that organizations are not weakened. Yeah. We must ensure that going forward that INEC as an organization, as an institution, gains more voice and capacity to be able to create new records and to improve even on those records going forward. So for me, INEC is key because it is the electoral body. It is the body that will announce the next leader of Nigeria for the next tenure. Yeah. So to that extent, that institutional provision must be supported by the low and the mighty all across the land.
All right, Chris, let me bring you back in here. Obviously, we talked about INEC and the political parties, their roles that they will play in ensuring electoral integrity. What, for instance, your foundation, Flag Foundation, and other NGOs and agencies, what role can they play to sensitize not only the electorate, but also politicians in ensuring we imbibe this culture of integrity in the whole electoral process?
Yeah, the subject of discussion is electoral integrity. And though it appears complex, but not really complex.
Yeah.
To achieve electoral integrity, all hands must be on deck. The government, the stakeholders, the candidates who are aspiring with their legitimate rights, constitutionally, morally, otherwise, the political parties is all part of it. All the social institutions, the clergy, religious bodies, traditional institutions, professional bodies and associations, like as you can see, the international community is interested in what goes on in Nigeria. Like the national conference was sponsored by a Washington-based organization that is interested in electoral integrity in Nigeria. And so every Nigerian, irrespective of your social standing, ought to be galvanized, be conscious of the fact that we're entering into elections. Then the key government agencies, in this regard, INEC, I don't make a case for them, but as an election observer, from 99, when we were running the analog system, up to 2015, there's a progression, an improvement, successes. Issues of ballot box snatching, issues of writing results. 2015 with the card reader, changed the tide from the analog to the ICT. That and it poses challenges. INEC as a body, so burdened with so much responsibilities and a lot of expectations. Institutions are created by man and also run by man, Nigerians. People who are running INEC, the INEC staff, are not from the outer space, they are Nigerians. So they are from among us. That brings us to another rule of, the public officers and the public office holders in the case of election. Because this election will be conducted by Nigerians that runs these institutions. If they compromise their conscience, if they fail to adhere strictly to the rules, the guidelines that affects the electoral integrity, the political parties themselves, the key political actors, the candidates in this regard, the ability to control and contain the appetite that the election is not a do or die affair. That if it's all to serve, if national service is a calling, if it's a patriotic duty, it's not worth the blood of any Nigerian. Though, when the election is coming like this, there's always apprehensions and fears. But even in this regard, for me as a Nigerian, looking at the man that calls the shots, the number one citizen, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I have not seen elements of desperation in him as a person. President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFRS, the general. I have not seen elements of desperation from him as an individual. I'm not talking about party here. And like I said, there's a pace already set. There's a precedence. The bottom line is that all the key actors, the political parties, the candidates that are running for these elections, the stakeholders, the state institutions, the security agencies, we must call ourselves to order to know that, look, we have no other country than Nigeria. And whatever action and inaction must be, based on the best interest
of the country.
Of the country.
All right. Well, we'll continue our discussions very shortly, but for now, you are watching Nigeria Today, and we are discussing electoral integrity in Nigeria and how best to ensure voter confidence in the integrity of the Nigerian electoral process. Let's hear what Nigerians have to say on the issue.
It has to do with the people that are contesting. If they said no violence, then we know there's no violence. And if any candidate accepts that he lost, just like when the last president, he accepted that he lost the election and everything went peaceful. It was a very good example there. You understand? So it's an example to other candidates.
There is awareness on election integrity. I think I have to put in the issue of vote inducement. Nigerians have to be very smart this time around. Smart in the sense that, please, do not sell your votes. Do not sell your vote, because if you do, I believe you sell your future.
When it's time for you to come out and vote, you vote at the right time. And when it's time for you to go back. And let peace take its full course. Free and fair election, that is what everybody is asking for.
Yes, the program is Nigeria Today, and we are discussing the integrity in the electoral process. And Mr. Chris Agiri, Director General of the Flag Foundation of Nigeria, and Mr. Bako Nansing are still with us in the studio. Let me come to Bako now. You heard some of the comments there from some members of the public. They seem to be fairly conversant with the issues on ground with regards to the electoral process. What would you consider to be the greatest threat to electoral integrity in Nigeria?
Well, I think Chris here has mentioned a key component of that, because which is about Nigerians being true to their consciences. It's important that we recognize that as a people, we must be passionate about the progress of this land, because that's the only denominator that will elevate us all as a people. So if you are working on the basis of something that will elevate perhaps only you or your interest or your political party or your pocket, as we have seen in a number of cases, then you are in a fundamental sense doing a disservice to this land. So Nigerians must recognize that in all we do, either as electoral participants or as electoral monitors or as political parties, members of INEC, legislators, security service, staff and all of that, we must all work with the mind that our role is to contribute to elevate the status of this land. That's right. Once we have that mindset and we have that orientation, then the other pieces, because they are of course not going to be left out, the other pieces of the jigsaw would necessarily begin to come together. So truly, for me, the key denominator, and listening to some of those Nigerians on tape, shows clearly that Nigerians are aware that our elections are not where we still want it to be, 2015 irrespective. Which is then, for me as an individual also, one of my hopes is that there would come a time in this country when election years are not considered as the dreaded years like we have at the present. That we would go about our normal businesses on an election year. Of course, we will be sensitive to the issues and to the debates and all of that, and we'll just simply go out like on a normal day and vote a new government. So Nigerians are, from the comments I've seen, are sensitive to this issue. I like a number of campaigns that I've seen on radio and television.
Yeah.
Some people talk about vote, don't fight, you know. So what is the need in fighting when it is simply to go and vote?
Yeah.
But the thing that will assure the confidence of Nigerians to simply go out and vote are the processes that lead up to these things. So the politicians must understand that what they say and do leading up to the elections are important. INEC also must recognize that what they say and do, or not do as a matter of fact, also affects the belief and the confidence level of Nigerians about our electoral processes. And we all must look at ourselves as people who are desirous of making this land go from where it is today in terms of its international reputation for the conduct of elections, or even our own self-image and perception, and elevate that, you know, go from strength to strength, as it were. So this is my hope and my dream for elections going forward.
All right, Chris, we've obviously seen the peace accord being signed recently, and a key component of that is refraining from hate speech, character assassination, and all the rest. How confident are you that politicians this time around are going to stick with the tenets of the peace accord?
Yeah, I'm privileged to be the first person that came on air 4 years ago, and this very studio, to comment on the peace accord, then between the then incumbent President Goodluck Jonathan and the current President Muhammad Buhari. And I commended that initiative. I'm still commending it. That's to say that every Nigerian must show interest, must contribute, must be active one way or the other. The other statesmen that put that together, of course, yes, we must begin to talk and communicate. The gap, you know, among the political elites and political parties should not be allowed to widen, even when they campaign. Let the campaigns be based on issues. Even we are more threatened now, the issue of fake news, than we were in 2015. That's the reality on ground. And irrespective of that, I advise and I appeal to the major actors, those that have appended their signatures to these peace agreements, to go through it, play by the rules, the guidelines, you know, for the elections, as ADEG has released, the laws, the conventions, all that transmit to, you know, free, fair, and credible elections, as universally accepted. We have no better option than to adhere strictly by those laws. Beyond the spirit and the letter of that peace accord must be applied. You know, one thing I want to tell the Nigerian youth, because of course about 150 million Nigerians, between the 200 million Nigerians, 150 are youths from the age of 14 upwards. They are energetic, they are strong, they are powerful, they have useful energy, which is the strongest energy that God has given to mankind. I doubt, peradventure things go wrong, even in the elections. None of these key political actors, none of the candidates, you will not see their children die in crisis. You will not see their members of their immediate family killed in crisis. It is the poor, the downtrodden, the masses that kill themselves if things go wrong. Of course, things will not go wrong come 2019. So every youth, from whatever tribe and religion and culture and background, must call themselves to order. Say, look, there is no need killing yourselves, because there's no Nigerian political elite, unless by accidental means, peradventure things go wrong and there's crisis. None of them will be victims. None of them will be victims. So that is a strong message to the Nigerian youth, to the communities, to all and sundry. Say, look, you don't need to tender your life. Go do the things in accordance with the rules, the laws, the conventions, the procedures as outlined by the Constitution and the Electoral Act.
All right. Well, we appreciate those remarks. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Let's quickly appreciate our guests. Chris Agiri, who is the Director General of the Flag Foundation of Nigeria. Thank you very much for your contributions to this discussion. And also Mr. Bako Nansig, who is a Public Affairs Analyst. Thanks for your insights on this topic in Nigeria today.
Thank you. Thank you.
And of course, our viewers, we thank you for taking the time to watch. And of course, you can watch any edition, including this one, on our website, as you can see on the screen there. And hopefully we shall be with you tomorrow for another episode. My name is DENIS ADEGUNLOYE. Thanks for watching.